I just want to quickly mention that my camera, for some reason, decided to reset all its settings, and now it looks a bit weird. I personally don't think it is that bad where it'll distract you, but it will look a bit odd. I'm really sorry, but I didn't notice it. I'll try my best to fix it through the power of editing. I'm sorry, and enjoy the video. Have you ever heard a story that sounds straight from a fantasy movie, and then you're shocked to realise that it's actually real? The Stone of Destiny. The Stone of Destiny, also known as Anlia Fail or Only Fall. I don't know Scottish Gaelic. I'm a disgrace, I know. Or also known as the Stone of Scone. But in this video, I'll be calling it the Stone of Destiny, or just the Stone. The Stone of Destiny was revered for centuries as a holy relic. Although the earliest origins are unknown, it played a major role in the coronation of Scottish kings before it was yoinked. More on that later. This stone, unlike your lonely ass, has been fought over for hundreds and hundreds of years. The actual description of the Stone of Destiny is that it is red sandstone, and it is about 26 inches by 16.75 inches by 10.5 inches and weighs approximately 152 kilogram. On one surface, it has an incised cross, and at each end there is an iron ring which was used to transport the stone. Monarchs sat on the stone itself until a wooden platform was added to the coronation chair in the 17th century, and it was originally located in the ruined Scone Abbey in Scone near Perth. Now, it's time to get into the origins and the mythology behind this fucking rock. While it is true that the stone was used in Scottish coronations until the 13th century, some legends claim the stone itself was used in earlier coronations of Irish kings at the Hill of Tara, but this is most likely just an ancient myth. The origins of the stone are shrouded in mystery. According to mythology, the stone was used by Jacob as a pillow in biblical times. I know this was like 2,000 years ago, but there's definitely a comfier alternative than a fucking rock. Anyway, how the story goes is that the rock originated in Palestine, and then it was transported through Egypt, Sicily, Spain and Ireland by Prophet Jeremiah, and then brought to Argyll by the first king of the Scots, King Fergus, son of Eric, and was placed in Dunadd. Unlucky lad, so close to a warm climate. However, when the Viking raid started, Kenneth MacAlpin moved the stone to the abbey in Scone in 846. But if this story was true, then it would have been black basalt. So this is just a legend and not a fact. And also, geologists have proven that the stone was old red sandstone quarried in the vicinity of Scone. And now we're on to my favourite time period in Scottish history. The First War of Independence. A lot of videos on this channel will be on this war. Just you wait, boys, it's going to be a banger. It's going to be a lot of bangers. John Balliol was the last king to be coronated on the Stone of Destiny in Scotland, and this was in 1296, because it was Boogaloo time. During the First War of Independence, the stone was stolen by Edward I of England and was taken to Westminster Abbey. This was his attempt to claim the status of Lord Paramount of Scotland, and with his right to oversee its king. Unluckily for him, Robert the Bruce didn't really care and got coronated anyway in Scone without the rock. Mogged. However, there is some doubt that the stone taken by Edward was the real stone. And this is because one theory claims that monks at Scone Abbey hid the real stone in the River Tay or buried it in Dunnissane Hill, and that Edward's troops took a replica. The main reasons we have this theory is that the historic descriptions of the stone do not match the present stone, but this is just a theory and isn't proven. The stone was then fitted into a wooden, high-backed Gothic-style chair in Westminster Abbey, and this was known as the King Edward's Chair. In 1297, Edward I commissioned Master Walter, a court painter, to decorate the chair with patterns of birds, foliage and animals on a gilt background. The figure of a king, either Edward the Confessor or Edward I, his feet resting on a lion, was painted on the back. Beneath the seat is a platform and a cavity to contain the Stone of Destiny. 4 gilded lions act as legs to the chair, added in the 16th century and replaced in 1727. Only traces of the original paintwork survives, and the chair has been damaged by graffiti. Since the coronation of Edward II in 1308, almost every monarch has been crowned in the chair. Exceptions are Edward V and VIII, who were not crowned, Queen Mary I, who was crowned in a chair given to her by the Pope, and Mary II, who was crowned as joint monarch alongside her husband William III in a replica chair. At the Treaty of Northampton in 1328, King Edward IV of England agreed to return the Stone of Destiny to the Scots, but riotous crowds broke out and prevented it from being removed from the Abbey because the Stone of Destiny became a powerful symbol of English power and legitimacy. For many English citizens, the stone was seen as an important national treasure, and its return to Scotland was perceived as a loss of symbol of English sovereignty. The fucking cheek. We are now on to the more recent part of this. On the 11th of June in 1914, the stone was made target by the suffragettes during their bombing and arson campaign of 1912 to 1914. Yes, the suffragettes did bombings. I'm probably going to make a video on them because it's such like a badass and interesting part of, you know, British history. It's just, it's a rate to highlight. It's kind of based. But please, woman, don't touch the cool rock. Anyway, the Women's Social and Political Union planted a bomb located with metal bolts and nuts to act as shrapnel next to the coronation chair and stone. But thankfully, there wasn't any serious injuries, despite the building having 80 to 100 people inside. I don't know how no one got hurt. However, the only casualty of this bombing was the coronation chair, as a corner was blown off due to the explosion. Now we are on to possibly the most interesting part of the Stone of Destiny, and most likely the reason why a lot of you guys know what this is. The 20th century heist. In 1950, on Christmas Day, 4 Scottish students named Ian Hamilton, Gavin Vernon, Kay Matheson and Alan Stewart set about to retake the Stone of Destiny from Westminster Abbey, and on the 24th of December they drove 2 Ford Anglia cars from Scotland and waited until nightfall. Kay waited near the cars as the getaway driver, while Ian, Gavin and Alan successfully broke into the Abbey. Ian and Gavin then removed the stone from the base of the coronation chair. Then the geniuses fucking dropped the stone onto Ian's foot, while also breaking the stone in half and also breaking Ian's foot. Ian then hobbled out of the Abbey holding the smaller piece of the stone that, you know, was so conveniently made, and he put it in Kay's car and used her coat to cover it. However, a nearby police officer noticed them and approached them. However, quick on their feet, Ian and Kay started to kiss and pretend that they were a couple looking for a place to stay, and the police officer bought it and let them go on their way. Then after the coast was clear, Gavin and Alan placed a larger piece of the stone in their car, and then they drove off and fled the scene. I also think it's very comical to mention that the weight of the stone actually dragged down the back of the cars, causing them to sag, which was quite suspicious, especially since, you know, it wasn't going to take too long for the authorities to realise the stone was gone. So a car dragging down the way is going to, you know, arouse some suspicion. With this, the group then temporarily buried the large piece of the stone in a field in Rochester, Kent, while the smaller piece was left with a friend in Birmingham. Once the stone's disappearance was noticed, it caused a massive scandal. The British government ordered a nationwide search, and the police closed the Anglo-Scottish border to inspect vehicles. After a while, the students judged it to be safe enough to transport the stone back to its homeland. The students then returned to receive the 2 pieces. In Kent, a tent of campers had pitched up on top of the burial site, and after explaining to them the situation, they helped the students dig up the stone. I love this country. It's more or less fuck it with ball kind of moment there. With their help, the group removed the larger stone and successfully got it across the border and hid it under the floorboards of a factory in Bonnybridge. Later, it was moved to a remote location near Cambus Kenneth Abbey in Stirling. The smaller section was brought from Birmingham, and both pieces were taken to a stonemason in Glasgow. The stonemason then rejoined the stone using copper tube doweling. The repaired stone was symbolically returned by the Scottish Covenant Association, of which the students were members of. On April 11th, 1951, the stone was draped in a saltire flag and placed on the altar of Arbroath Abbey, where the Declaration of Arbroath had been written in 1320. Extremely based. The London police were informed of the stone's location, and it was transported back to Westminster Abbey. The stone was then placed back in the base of the ceremonial throne in 1953 for Queen Elizabeth II's coronation. Despite identifying the culprits, including Ian Hamilton, whose library records showed he had borrowed many books on the stone, there was no prosecution. Authorities avoided prosecution to prevent generating further support for Scottish independence, and that more or less concludes the story of the heist. Now, you might be asking, how is the stone doing right now? And in 1996, the former British Conservative government of John Mayer, with the approval of the Queen, decided that the stone should be returned to Scotland when not in use at coronations. On St Andrew's Day, 15th November 1996, it was returned to Scotland after 700 years, and it was brought to Edinburgh Castle with the crown jewels of Scotland. There's also a replica of the stone that is kept on the grounds of Scone Palace in Perthshire. But you thought that was it. You thought nothing else could happen. Too bad. We've got really cringed protesters here. On November 15th, 2023, 3 members of the environmental activist group This Is Rigged, 2 women aged 20 and 24 and a man aged 20, smashed the protective glass surrounding the Stone of Destiny at Edinburgh Castle and spray painted the words, I'm going to butcher this, as Trisha Tua Nati Herna, and this was spray painted on the glass along with the group's logo. Please, grow the bean for it. How about you? This protest and vandalism was meant to pressure the supermarkets to reduce food prices somehow, and it was also to encourage the government to fund community food hubs. As a result, Edinburgh Castle was closed to the public for the rest of the day. The activists were arrested, and in November 2024, 2 of them pled guilty to charges of malicious damage. The third protester also pled guilty to damaging the cabinet, but not breaching the peace, but this was accepted. The 2 women received sentences of unpaid work for their role in the protest. And with that, the story of the Stone of Destiny is over, for now at least.